Hello everybody and welcome back to Ant Holleufer. Today we are once again looking at the Camponotus Floridanus colony, and I need to say something. Between episode 1 and this episode number 2, I had a little bit of a drought in the test tube, or not a drought, the test tube was just running out of water, and therefore I tried connecting it with another test tube and that didn't work. So at the end I just kind of changed the setup a little bit so they could move into a new test tube, but they didn't want to move into the new test tube, and today they're just living in a tube. But let's start the video. So after the whole test tube problem, this is now their new setup. They didn't want to move into their new test tube, but they just stayed in that tube. But as you can see, I have given them an outworld because I didn't like feeding them in the test tube, and now I can't really feed them at all. So I gave them an outworld to feed them in. But we are going to unhook that today because we're going to give them a new nest. So this is only temporary. As soon as they have moved into the new nest, I will unhook the outworld once again. But for now, hooking it off and inputting their new founding nest from Hytigans. And of course, the colony didn't do anything about it. They really just stayed like that for a really long time, and as you can see, it's just so brilliant recording them in this position because you can just see everything that's going on. No, you can't, it's bloody annoying. So me looking away for 1 second, we had a worker over checking it out but deciding to go back in again. But while there wasn't any workers, I decided I would water the nest a little bit, and I also put a heat mat under it just to make it more attractive for the colony. So except for this one worker kind of going around exploring a little bit, the colony didn't do anything. And just in general, this queen, except when she's scared, she doesn't do anything. She just really just lays still. But now it's just time to observe. And not that long after, we had the one curious worker out running about again, though this time she had a companion. And together they both decided to stay home. So a bit slow start, so I decided I would take a time lapse to see what was going on while I did something else. And it was slow at the beginning, but as you can see, we had a worker running into the nest and running out of the nest. We had two workers out, two workers inside the nest, one worker out again, and a lot of action actually. And of course I didn't see any of it because I was doing something else. So while I was back, I saw that we had another worker exploring the new nest, just checking around, checking the elevation changes, and just giving the nest a long and good look before making it clear for the queen. So I decided to take another time lapse, and in this 20-minute time lapse there wasn't a single worker inside the nest. So after waiting around half a day, I wanted to push them a little bit more, so I unhooked the middle part of the setup, so they just would have to go straight into the nest, and both for it being easier to move back and forward, but also so the queen wouldn't have to do anything, just literally walk straight into the nest. And another time lapse, we're on the move, and they didn't really do anything. While recording this time lapse, I could see that the queen was actually trying to hide a little bit more. She was scared of the light or something, so she tried to kind of squeeze into the tubing connector, but there wasn't that much room in there, so she couldn't really fit in. She did fit in, but then she got out again and got in again, and yeah, it was time to put them back on the ant shelf, heat the nest up properly, and just wait. So a new day has arrived, and as you can see, the setup is totally changed because they did actually move in during the night. I didn't expect this at all. So starting on looking at the outworld, I took their old food out and I inputted a water tube, so if they want to get any water, they could be able to go over and drink a little bit. Of course the camera didn't want to focus, but together with the tube I also inputted a little bit of a honey drop and a chopped up mealworm. Now the funny thing is that even though I feed them mealworms every second day, I don't really see them out feasting on them, and more weird is that they don't just take the mealworm and drag it home. It is cut up to very small pieces, so it would be very easy for a worker to just grab it and walk home, but they're not really doing it. I've only seen a worker walking around the outworld 3 times, so I don't know, take that as you want. So inside the colony we can now see a very good and clear look at how the colony looks. And as you can see, we only have 1 larvae and only 4 workers. Now, if you remember last episode, we had 5 cocoons or something, but sadly only 1 of them hatched, and I think the other died due to stress after their transport throughout Europe. So we had another worker checking their little switch box out, but decided to go home again. If we forget about that half the colony didn't make it, I am expecting that now where I have them inside this nest, I can properly heat them, since this nest has a humidity sensor and a heat sensor. So now I can probably heat them and give them the correct temperature. While they were in the test tube, I'm pretty sure that they were never up to the optimal temperature, just because I never wanted to boil the ants. And since I didn't want to boil the ants, I didn't want to heat them that much. So my thought is that the reason that the pupae died was because they didn't have enough heat, or whatever, I don't know, maybe it's stress, maybe it's the heat. No matter what, now they're in a founding nest, and hopefully they will grow into strong numbers, and just in general, hopefully they'll do a lot better in this nest. As I said in my last video, they need around 26 to 30 degrees inside this nest. Right now it's only around 22 degrees, but I have now fitted them with a heating mat and a heating cable to get the optimal temperature. Of course, I'm only heating one side of the nest up, so hopefully they'll find the correct temperature and stay in that. So in my last Mimicaruba video, I also talked a little bit about that I had a new macro lens, or an extension for my macro lens, and these were some of the shots I got of this worker cleaning out this little larvae. And it's just so amazing to think that the workers have to clean the larvae 24/7 so they won't get fungi or rotten or die. And it's just crazy to think how much work that goes into every single worker. So I get that if they weren't in the optimal setup in a small test tube and with the incorrect heat, it would be a lot harder to keep them alive. But hopefully with this new setup, it will be a lot better. Again, fiddling a little bit around with my macro lens to get some really good recordings. It's a bit shaky, but I'm really a big fan of this macro lens. And while I was recording, I also noticed something else. Only 2 of the 4 workers had actually a full stomach, that being their bottom half or their stomach. So ants have 2 stomachs, a social stomach and their own stomach. So I'm guessing that they have been feeding their own stomach full. But I just find it quite funny that even though I feed them every day, only 2 of the workers had a full social stomach. So time for an even closer look at the queen. You can really see those 3 extra eyes she has on top of her head that she used during nuptial flight. Though the worker on the left is really trying to take the spotlight, it's really great quality with this macro lens. So in general, there isn't really much to say about this colony. They have lost half of their brood, but hopefully it will start to grow back strong again. And here you can really see how only 2 of the 4 workers has a full social stomach, the one on the back and the one on the right to the queen. So I don't know why they're doing this, but I guess it is just how they want to eat. So a few days into the future once again, I now have the setup look like this, because I just found that with this small of a colony I didn't want to make them wander too long between the nest and the outworld. And as far as I can see, I have only seen workers around in the outworld a very few times, so therefore I thought I would just shorten the space between outworld and nest a little bit. And also, this is just on my ant shelf, but this is how the setup looks. So I have a heat mat that's constantly turned on, which heats the nest up to about 25 degrees Celsius, which is around the 70 Fahrenheit. And then I have a heating cable that turns on 1 hour and then turns off 1 hour, making the nest go up to these just around 29/89 Fahrenheit. So should be pretty much perfect. And I found out that the ants are mostly over at the hot side. But when we're up at these just around 30 degrees, they move to the middle of the nest. So I think that the nest is currently the perfect temperature. But looking at the few ants I have spotted in the outworld, I haven't seen any of them taste the honey or taste the mealworm, so I'm hoping that they're just doing it at nighttime when I'm not looking. Currently I'm only looking at them a few minutes a day because I'm not that much in my ant room, so therefore they have a lot of time to taste the mealworms, but I haven't seen them do it. And yeah guys, this is now the setup. As you can see, it is 25.2 degrees and it should be between 26 and 30 degrees. So it's a little bit on the cold side, but I'm still trying to figure out how to heat them properly. My watch that turns on and off the heat cable, it is not that good because it can only turn off and on half an hour at the time. And I know if the ants get 3.5 hours or 1.5 hours, the nest gets up to 32 degrees and then they move to the middle. So I'm still trying to fiddle a little bit around with the temperature. Another thing that got me very scared was when I just looked through this red plastic, I actually can't see the brood inside, so I thought the queen had eaten the big larvae, but luckily it is still there. And I've also put a tin foil on top of the red plastic just to make them even more secure here in the founding stages. So yeah guys, that has been it for this video. I'm still really trying to work my way around with the heating mat and the heating cable. I don't know why, but now if I don't have the heating cable turned on, the heating mat warms it up to 30 degrees. Even though yesterday I needed the heating mat and the heating cable. I'm not sure what's happening. But no matter what, that has been it for this video, so I hope you liked it. I certainly liked recording this colony. It's a very nice looking colony and I really like making videos of them. So hopefully the brood will return really quickly and the colony will start growing for real. But you'll just have to wait, because I'll have to wait. So yeah guys, that has been it for this video. So don't forget to like and subscribe and I'll see you in another video.